Readers abandon over 60% of the books they start. Let's make sure yours isn't one of them. In this video, you'll learn the 3 story ingredients that will glue readers to the page and keep your book from becoming a DNF, a did not finish. Hey, I'm Kyle Heath. Welcome to my channel. Let's talk writing. These days, the adult human attention span is like 5 minutes. What that means for writers is novels have a higher bar for entertainment value than they used to. If a book doesn't hook a reader, they'll drop it like a hot tomato. That's because there are about 1 zillion other entertainment options. I'm both an author and a marketing professional. And with my marketing background, you might think this book is going to be about the sneaky tricks you can use to manipulate readers into finishing your books. Nope. I'm sorry to say this is not that kind of video. I firmly believe authors don't need any of that crap because we've got a much more powerful tool at our disposal. Good story. People's brains are hardwired to love good story, and it ain't never going out of style. Readers are always going to be enraptured by good story. So with that in mind, here are 3 story ingredients that will help you make sure your novel is so yummy the reader can't put it down. No tricks, no MSG, just timeless tips. Let's get in the kitchen and cook a good book. First off, ingredient number 1 is a hungry main character. Now, I don't mean an MC who's feeling snacky. I mean a main character who wants something, needs something. Kurt Vonnegut said every character should want something, even if it's only a glass of water. An example of a motivated character is Inigo Montoya from The Princess Bride. You know what this dude is all about by his signature line. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. If this character had no motivation, if he was just a cool sword guy, then all we could look forward to about the character would be some cool sword fights. And we've seen a million of those already. But since Inigo Montoya's swordsmanship is motivated by vengeance, every scene featuring his swordsmanship is packed with meaning. We get to follow him through grueling training, failed duels, and a story of redemption after revenge. And we get to wonder, how's it going to work out for this guy? Will he achieve what he wants? And what happens then? Dude, that makes for a sticky story. Character motivation gives the reader something to feel sympathy about. And sympathy builds a relationship between the reader and the character. It gets your reader invested in the outcome because relationships are glue. Relationship makes readers turn pages. It's why romance novels are the #1 genre. And like Vonnegut suggested, it doesn't have to be an earth-shattering want like vengeance. Remy from Ratatouille wants to cook and be creative. Dwight from The Office wants to be assistant regional manager instead of assistant to the regional manager. What matters is they want something, so the character has some soul. A soulful story requires some willpower. And in the best case, the main character should be able to say what they want. If you were to ask them what they want, they shouldn't go, They should be able to specifically say, I want this, and then this, and then this. Now, your main character doesn't have to have a super driven personality. But if your character is 50% of the way through their story, and they're still just floating along in the sea of circumstance, tossed by the waves of events, that's like watching a baseball game where the batter doesn't even try to swing the bat. That kind of a character is more mannequin than man. You've got to give the reader something to root for. This first point is far and away the most important element of a sticky book, because at the root, stories are about people. That's what makes stories obsessively interesting. Your characters aren't just an element of the story alongside plot or setting, they're the story's beating heart. So think about your own character's primary motivation and see if you can write it down in 1 sentence. Ingredient number 2 is spicing things up with conflict. Most of us don't like conflict in real life, but everybody likes it in their fiction. Conflict keeps stuff moving, because when your story isn't moving, it's boring. You don't want to put your reader in the situation where they'd rather look out the window and watch the two pigeons duking it out in their backyard rather than read your book. Actually, I'd put down any book to watch that. Imagine with me, if you will, a harmonious, relaxing book where all the characters sip tea and agree with each other. They spend every day at the beach and it's always 75 degrees and nobody ever forgets to reapply the sunscreen. When they go home for a snack of avocado toast, the avocados are always ripe and ready to slice. Something that's literally never happened in my life. Everyone wants to live a life like that, but nobody wants to read about a life like that. It's a hard task to sustain a reader on eloquent writing and sumptuous vibes alone. Truthfully, you'd be much better off taking this story and making these beach characters argue over tea about which beach to go to, and have sudden wind gusts carry their umbrellas into the sea, resulting in embarrassing sunburns. And when they get home, they've been visited by the mysterious local avocado thief. Conflict is the engine of story. It takes control of the reader's hand and makes them flip to the next page, because we all love drama. In Pride and Prejudice, it would be a serious letdown if Elizabeth had neither pride nor prejudice and overlooked Mr. Darcy's faults, recognizing him right away as the man who would most suit her. Conflict is what exposes Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy's pride and prejudice, and that makes their eventual overcoming and their eventual union feel earned. Most authors really need to press their thumb down harder on their characters and give their characters something big to overcome. It's no exaggeration to say every single scene in your book should have conflict. The conflict doesn't always have to be big, but if you have a scene where the characters aren't at cross purposes about some issue, the reader doesn't get the chance to be curious about if the main character is going to get what she wants or not. Conflict is about setting two characters' desires against each other. Only one person can get this. What's going to happen? If the main character is going to advance, they need this. If they don't get it, their whole plan will be ruined and they'll have to figure out an even bolder way to get what they need. These clashes between two wills whet a reader's appetite. But it's not ultimately about the drama, it's again about connection with the main character. Conflict is like putting an X-ray machine over the main character's deepest core. The tension reveals who the character really is. There's no way to find out where a person really stands until they're tested in one way or another. You can say all you want about somebody, but you really learn what makes them tick when the pressure mounts. Walter White in Breaking Bad, for instance. He's a meek little loser who can't even look people in the eye. But when he needs to make enough money to pay for his cancer bills and support his family, we learn that the real Walter White is a ruthless dude who will destroy anyone who gets in his way. The conflict is what brings out the character's inner life for the reader to see. And when there's a difference between what a character says and what they really are, it's delicious. So take a look at your own scenes and try to identify ones where your characters lack two opposing agendas. Those are potential scenes to cut. And our final ingredient number 3, is a controversial one. A good story must have big, juicy stakes. And I'm not talking about sirloin steaks, I mean character stakes. Good stories subject the character to big stakes. Now, some people will push back at this and say, that sounds exhausting. Not every book needs big stakes. That's why there's a whole genre called cozy. And those people are exactly right. But in my conception, big stakes are subjective. If you care about what's happening, the stakes are big. Books absolutely do not require objectively big stakes, like aliens blowing up the White House or something. But they absolutely need stakes that feel big to the main character. For example, Anne of Green Gables. 11-year-old Anne gets to host a tea party for her best friend Diana. But because she's careless about reading the labels, Anne accidentally serves her friend wine, gets her totally drunk, and gets banned from ever seeing her best friend again. She later has to prove her responsibility to Diana's mother in order to get the friendship back. Objectively, this was a trivial event. No White Houses are blown up by aliens anywhere in Anne of Green Gables. But are the stakes big to Anne, and do we feel it? Heck yes, we do. So why are character stakes important? Because if the stakes aren't big enough to force the character to change, to grow into the person they desperately need to become, we miss the most important movement in a story, the movement of a character ripening into their full potential. This is a critical insight about story, and it's easy to overlook. Stories are not just a litany of unrelated things happening to your character. In a good story, events all have a single, united purpose: to transform your character, like grape juice fermenting into wine. Transformation is the thing that makes stories totally irresistible. If you're looking for the secret sauce of good stories, this is it. Mapped across the book, you call this transformation the character arc. It is so magical, it's not an exaggeration to say it's the whole purpose of your plot. I can't overstate this. It's the purpose of every component of your story. It's the purpose of your setting and your supporting characters and your magic system, the whole shebang. The story world you make should be tailor-made to specifically challenge your character's worldview and make them change. Because when you do it well, your readers will just have to see what happens next. So now look through your own chapters and try to identify if your big climactic moments affect the main character strongly enough that their worldview needs to change in response. One final note on point number 3, there are many stories where the main character doesn't change. They're called iconic stories, and they operate a little differently. If you want me to make a video about iconic stories, let me know in the comments. So those were my 3 ingredients to make a story so tasty a reader just has to keep reading. A hungry main character, spicy conflict, and big juicy stakes that make a character ripen. Include these and your readers will be far more likely to stick around and see how things turn out. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching. Peace.